In this video, we're going to talk about the long run average cost curve. Now, we've already talked about short run cost curves. The blue marginal cost curve here, the red average total cost curve, and the green average variable cost curve. Now, what we're going to do is focus on the average total cost curve here, and instead of looking at the short run, we're going to discuss what could happen over several years' time. How can you think about what might go on? Now, for this discussion, I'm going to get rid of these other cost curves and just point out to you that in the long run, what we usually see is that if the price is high, that remember we discussed how you look to see how many you want to produce, where the price equals marginal cost, and then you'd want to stop producing. You wouldn't want to produce these units in the upper right hand corner here, but you would produce all these units up to about, the 11th or 12th in this case, and then you'd want to stop producing. You wouldn't want to produce the 13th. And the fact that the price is higher than average total cost means that you're going to be making a profit when you're producing 12 units. Now, what's going to happen in the long run here if you're making a profit? Well, so the theory goes, if you're making a profit, remember that's not just a profit. We're talking about economic profit. That means that you are making a higher profit, because economic profit means how much more you are making than you would make if you were doing something else. So if you're making a positive profit, that means you're making more in this industry than you could make somewhere else. And if we assume that all firms are identical, then what that implies is other people are going to be looking at you and the people in your industry, and they're going to be saying, hey, wait, why are they making so much more profit over there than what I'm making? And so people are going to start switching. They can't do it today, but in the long run, over the next weeks and months, they're going to start switching and getting into your business. Now, what's going to happen when more people get into a business? The supply increases, which pushes the price down, right? And that price might go down to $10. Now, at a price of $10, you're not going to be making 12 units anymore. You'd only be making 10 units. But you're still making a profit because that price is higher than average total cost. People are going to look at you and say, wait, you're still making more profit than I am. I'll finally come and join your business. And that's going to keep going on until the price gets down to the level where it's at the minimum of average total cost. Why is that where the price is going to stop going down? Because at that point, you're going to be making, it looks like 8 units here, and the price is not greater than your average total cost. It's equal to your average total cost. And so the theory goes, if you're making an economic profit, you're making more than people are making in other industries, more than you could make in another industry, then people will enter that industry, which will cause the supply to go up, which will push that price down, and it'll keep going down until it gets to that point where it's at the minimum point of average total cost, which is where the marginal cost crosses the average total cost. So that's the minimum average total cost right there. And then the price won't keep going down because you're not making more money than you could make in another industry. You're making the same amount. Now, the same argument goes in reverse if the price is lower than average total cost. Suppose that the price is below even average variable cost. Then at that price level, if all firms look about the same and have the same cost structure, then all the firms will shut down simultaneously. Now, this is unlikely to be true in practice because most of the time businesses are a little different from each other. But in theory, if they're all identical, then if the price gets below the minimum average variable cost, which occurs right there, where marginal cost crosses average variable cost, any price below that, all firms simultaneously shut down. The supply curve basically, the supply curve is still there because there are firms that would produce if the price got high enough. But this is a low price where the quantity supplied will be zero. Now, even more than that, today the quantity supplied is zero. In the long run, the next few weeks and months, what's going to happen? Well, these businesses are going to start scrambling to sell their factories and permanently exit the industry. Shut down means you're going to not produce anything today, but exit the industry means you're looking for another opportunity elsewhere. And you're going to start looking quickly if you're shut down and not producing anything. And what's going to happen when businesses start to exit the industry? Well, the theory goes that with fewer suppliers, the price might start increasing. And that may or may not be true all the time, but in general, that's what we expect to see. And the price might go up to 7 units. Well, here businesses will open, and they would each produce 7 units. But they're still losing money because the price is below average total cost when you're producing 7 units. So more firms will drop out of the industry, pushing the price up as the supply decreases until you get to that minimum average total cost. So in the short run, the price could be anything, and people could make profits. It could be too in quotes, too low, and people could be losing money. But so the theory goes, in the long run, if people are losing money or they're not making a zero economic profit, they're going to look to go to other industries, pushing the price up to that point of about $8. If businesses are making positive economic profits, it means they're making lots of money, more than other people are. As more people come in the industry, the price will get pushed down to about $8. So that's the long run situation that we will see in perfectly competitive industries when people are actually able to exit the industry and enter the industry easily. Now, if there's something keeping businesses out, then it would be possible to keep earning profits for a long time. Like if you're making a drug that you have a patent on, or if you have a book or software that you have a copyright on, then other people can't come in and compete with you and push your price down. Similarly, you might be in an industry where you're required to supply the water for a town. You are required by law to be the cable company, and you're not allowed to go out of business. You could have a situation like that, and you just have to keep losing money. Maybe a bus company in a town. Well, you're required to stay open, and if you lose money, the taxpayers will fill in the losses, usually. Otherwise, you won't do this forever. But you can keep losing money, and they'll keep paying you, so that you won't totally shut down, and the price won't go up in a case like that. So let me also tell you about the long run average cost curve. This is a different idea than the long run we were just talking about. Let me delete these curves. We're just going to leave the average total cost, and I'm actually going to squish that average total cost curve up there so that I can draw some more. Now suppose this is what your average total cost curve looks like when you have, let's say, 10 machines, 10 drill presses, or 10 assembly lines in your company. Now, depending on what your company looks like, you might ask an analyst to ask, hey, what would happen to my cost structure if I expanded from 10 machines to 20 machines? And the analyst says, well, here is what your cost curve would look like if you had 20 machines. Now, maybe your average total costs would move to the curve, would kind of shift to the right and be lower for some points, meaning that at higher production levels, 7 or 8 or 9, your average cost might be lower than it used to be with only 10 machines to produce 7, 8, or 9. Now, what if you expanded from 20 machines to 30 machines? Well, you might call up an analyst and they analyze your production structure and they tell you, well, here's what would happen to your cost curve. And you say, okay, well, what if I went up even further to 40 machines? And you say, okay, here's what it would look like. Maybe this. Maybe your average cost curve shifts higher again. Now, the long run average cost curve is an idea of what would your cost curve look like if you incorporated all this information. The question you're trying to answer is, if I wanted to produce 4 units, what's the cheapest way to do that? And this cost curve would be the cheapest way to do that. What if I wanted to produce 9 units? What's the cheapest cost curve? Well, this would be it. What if I wanted to produce 12 units? This would be the cheapest cost curve. So what we do is just join them to show us what the minimum cost for different levels of production is. And so this purple line is just an envelope that contains all of those cost curves in one long run curve if you change your size.